So I've been thinking a lot in the last few days about the state of the game balance and what would need to be done to really fix the current state of the game balance. And I came into a interesting realization that what if this game could be balanced just through being imbalanced? So XP, Xuanpin here, and Nushi are the two obvious culprits that we're looking at here, where they are just game-definingly broken. And, well, we cannot nerf Nushi. The reason for that is a monetary perspective from their side. If they are to nerf her, anyone who paid money into the game in order to ultimately acquire her, with that being their primary goal, either through shrimmer records, through gold records, basically they put an influx of cash into the game just with the hope of hitting Nushi, they feel cheated out because they spent money and they lost what they were attempting to purchase. So they can't really nerf them post-launch due to this fact. XP is not launched yet, therefore she could still technically be nerfed tonight prior to the patch and be somewhat balanced. But what if we just went the opposite direction here? We said, nope, XP is balanced. Could we balance this game around that? And the answer I came to was yes. So I'm an older folk at this point. I'm in my 30s. Please recoil in terror at the thought of aging it right now. Thank you. And I've seen a lot of different styles of game balance. And a really good one is actually an overpowered meta, where you have the champion style. And how this works is you have one character that you build your game around, that they're just better than everyone else on your team, by far. But they are still what you just mold the team around, so you still need a team around them to actually be great or overpowered. So like in the case of XP here, she still needs DPS around her to be overly powerful. So what if there was only one shimmer allowed per team, one shimmer legendary? And in fact, in this case, we're not even going to call them legendary. We're going to go rank above. These are now mythic characters, and you can only have one mythic character per team. I think that a completely overpowered meta would work, because one, you're not allowed to stack them. Two, they would be completely build defining, which is fine, because if everyone is overpowered, nobody is. To quote the great Syndrome from Incredibles, if everyone's a super, nobody is. So how would we go about actually getting to that state of the game? Because first off, we're saying you're only allowed one shimmer. Obvious. Clear. Done. We're calling XP and Nushi balanced. So what about the other shimmers that are now supposed to be like this mythic lair, where they're just better than legendaries by far? So let's first take a look at Everett here. What we would need to do is along the lines of, one, buff his damage reduction. Because at this point, it is just not nearly enough to be considered mythic layering. Because it's 20% damage reduction. That's worse than Sally by default. So what we do is we tag 10 to 15% on this. Okay, cool. Now we have 30-35% damage reduction. Well, Sally's still the better version of Everett at this point. Cool. It's now a passive. So he's just flat out 35% damage reduction. Combine that with Sally, you're now at 60% damage reduction. That's a lot of damage reduction. But what does 60% damage reduction mean? The 100% damage that you got from XP is now actually reduced back down to its base value. So it's kind of this odd way of two overpowered units then canceling each other out while both are enabling their own unique play style. Because if you're running XP, yeah, you're going to be going hard. You're going to just be, okay, we need to hit big numbers here. HP values are going to be remaining the same. So it's like, okay, I just need my DPS to be able to hit for 50,000, which is possible right now without XP. So then you just have an offset between Everett, R6 Sally, XP. It becomes balanced in that regard. So then the hope is that we then take each one of these Shimmer legendaries and turn them into something unique and amazing. Like JJ is already very unique. He has several unique mechanics, primarily being his demon mode, as well as the damage share. But how would we break JJ in this case? What I'm saying is stand off 2 turns so that he's able to stay in demon mode longer, and possibly even adding a 3rd attack to demon mode, so that technically he'd only have 1 turn cooldown outside of it. And you could even say drop the cooldown by 1 turn. We're now at 3 turns. Once he gets into demon mode, he essentially stays in demon mode. And that's what he does, is he just starts swinging. It's overpowered. Yeah. But is it more overpowered than 100% bonus damage to 2 people? Is it more overpowered than 50% damage reduction? No. And that's the point, is we're supposed to try and inspire unique gameplay using these characters. So then on top of it, you take his damage split. You can see where it's 15% for a single target. What you do is you make that 15% all damage. If they're doing a splash attack, cool, he absorbs some of it. So ultimately, he's giving you 15% DR and just does a bunch of single target damage. Then, looking back at Everett again, where he is also doing damage reduction, you'd also buff his heal. Make it do 1.5, 2 times the amount that it is right now. So that they both feel fairly unique in what they're doing, even though it's something semi-similar. Tever's the hardest one to figure out when I'm looking at these shimmers, because all he does is hit good. So what you would do is either make him attack faster or just hit gooder. Either way, since all he is DPS, he just needs to be the best DPS in the game, bar none. And that's just how he would be overpowered. Then we have Cecilia. She was also an interesting one. I think what you do is, with the 6-turn cooldown, you drop that down to 4. You make it so that she can res herself. And you can even, in theory, drop the cooldown further, say, hey, it is a 2-turn cooldown if she only reses 1 character. And then if she reses all 5, that's a 5 or 6-turn cooldown. Or even on top of that, you could just say, well, now it's able to be CD downed. Nushi can reset her. Uday, I guess Nushi wouldn't be able to go run with her. Important part. Uday would be able to reset her. Ocean Waves would lower this cooldown. Her S1 and S3 still suck. But who cares? She would be so broken just because she's a res bot. Which would inspire a lot of play where it's fuck, I'm okay with dying. That's no problem. If I die, I die. We'll just be immediately resed and go again. Then we have Nushi. Perfect. Stay as you are. Don't change. Have a great summer. Unis, what you do is you just take his R6. You toss that right into his kit basic, and suddenly Unis is overpowered. He is just this speed king of the world. Because all he's doing is just pushing AP crazy hard. Raven is another hard one. Since she's also a bit split, what you do is you'd put multiple attacks onto her S3. So that way it's always going to do damage, dispel buffs, give defense down. She would not be singularly focused in her purpose, so all aspects of her kit couldn't be overpowered. But she would still be, 1, removing all buffs if she had multiple hits. And she'd always be giving defense down, which that's just good. So, yeah, and maybe even update the damage on it to just hit a little bit harder. It'd be a total of 150% attack damage instead, 275% hits. So then the question is, how would this look from a perspective of early, late game, free-to-play, and pay-to-win balance? So early game, you don't care about game balance. You're just trying to do very basic survival. You're just trying to get to the point where you're actually farming desolate lands, where you have decent relics. You're not trying to push and point war. So game balance really isn't a thing for you at that point. You're not going to be high up on the leaderboards, no matter what you do. But as you hit the mid-game, you're going to be able to hit Everett. So you farm your first copy of Everett, who I can no longer find. Okay, there he is. And he would then become the ultimate mid-game Esper, because if he has high damage reduction, whenever you're attempting to do mid-game content, generally what you're trying to focus on is just survive. When you're up against Kronos, it's okay, I just need to not die to Kronos. When you're up against APEP, you just want to not die, clear out 16, safe clears. You don't care if it takes 120 turns to clear, as long as you're able to do the multi-battle and be fine with it, 100% win rate. So that's where Everett is just absolutely perfect early game Esper for this overpowered style, because he also has that healing on his kit. Bruiser and Tank are also by far the easiest sets to build, because you don't need to do speed tuning with them. Speed is a tertiary stat, which you do want your tertiary stat, but it's not required. So you'd be able to get up to, point ward 12, 13 area with just doing a basic Bruiser or Tank build, depending on which Espers you're able to get. Then from a pay-to-win perspective, this still gives you a reason to go out and pay. Because, one, you want to collect all the Shimmer legendaries so that you have the most number of playstyle options available to you, as well as get the rezos on the standard espers that go into their build. But this would also make it so that whenever a free-to-play player pulls a Shimmer, like let's say right now you pull a Tever, you're like, oh crap, not Tever, I have absolutely no use for him. You pull a Raven, and you're just like, well, I guess that's okay when you get your first copy. It's like, I guess a Shimmer's a Shimmer. But really, you want Cecilia for PvP, you want Zhang Zhuli for shenanigans, or you're going to really want XP or Nushi, because they're overpowered. They're just better, or even Unis for speed. But really, right now, you'd just be chasing Nushi and XP. That's all you care about is those two. So it would make it so that pulling the others is a lot more fun, enables a lot more playstyles. In the late game, it becomes a little bit more interesting because, one, you would need a DPS build in order to push the ladders. But that isn't too far different than what we have existent right now, where competing with the whales is already just laughably impossible. When somebody breaks out an R6 Unis, yeah, you're not beating them on the ladder. So you would still be Shimmer chasing in the late game so that you can enable these DPS builds, but the idea would be that you need to have enough of these DPS espers that there's a decent chance you hit them. Like a sad series of events for a free-to-play player would honestly be going Everett into Cecilia, because you've gone Tank into Tank. Where it's like, okay, that didn't really enable a huge difference in my playstyle. I can now do some resurrection shenanigans. But that would be the worst feeling you could actually hit. Because, like, if you hit Unis, okay, cool, now I have the super speedy one. Or you hit Tever, oh my god, he's the highest single target DPS in the game by far. And have his single target DPS be on par with, like, what XP pushes into those two cleaves through her kit. But I think that we could be balanced through imbalance. It is a strategy that has worked in numerous different video games. And I really think that it could work for Dislight as well. And it kind of solves the issue that once XP drops, if she's not nerfed on PTR, that they can't really nerf XP in Nushi. So then their only option is for that to become the new normal. And this is how we turn it into the new normal in a way that doesn't break the game. That, in fact, makes the game more dynamic, makes it more fun to play, and everyone loves shenanigans. If you're able to... The reason why I play Narmer, some people watch Narmer, is because he's a shenanigans build. He's not the best character. He's at best T1.5. But he's fun. That's all that really matters. And the idea would be to give that joy over to everyone in all of these different Shimmer builds. Now, I created a post for this on the Dislike community. I will have a link to that below for anyone who's willing to upvote that, because we need to gain visibility on this idea. If we think it's a popular idea, try and get this shared around. I don't care if you share the video, just share the idea. Because in order for this to actually propagate as an idea, it'd have to be picked up by much larger content creators. Somebody like Daddy Free to Play, Materia. There's a lot of people out there that have hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of followers. I have 30. So we're going to, or actually I think it's like 65 now. Y'all rock. But it's a very small community. So what I'm really hoping to do is that we can kind of share this idea around and possibly save Dislight through balancing via imbalance. Now, I hope you all have a fantastic day. And for anyone who's polling in this upcoming patch, I will myself. Best of luck. Godspeed. You're going to need it. I'm going to need it. And I will hopefully have a very short video for you guys tomorrow. I have 50 Shimmer records banked. I plan on recording it. And we'll see if RNG smiles upon us. 50% chance to hit XP, which I am a huge Windows fan. Bought a new gaming chair. I'm at 1500 ELO in chest that I hit this weekend. I'm ready. I set the stage for her to come home. It's going to happen. But if not, if I miss and hit Nushi, we'll call it a great day. So we'll see where it's at. I'm about a 58% chance in order to get what I need. Y'all have a fantastic one. Goodbye, and I hope to see you next video.